Welcome. This week, we're going to go over lessons 97 to 100. So, we just finished up a few weeks of focusing on subtraction. And while we're leaving that main focus, just know that they're going to still get a little bit of practice through some games focused on subtraction. But we're going to get into some other stuff. So, before we get going, let's go see what materials are needed. You will need your abacus, the math journal, as well as the worksheets, some crayons, specifically two. You need several books with at least 50 pages in them, the math card game book, along with the corner card deck and the basic number card deck, the dry erase board, sticky notes, just or a piece of paper, either one set of tangrams, and your tiles. Lesson 97, higher, even, and odd numbers. Notice there's no sum practice for this lesson. We will continue back with it tomorrow, but for today, no. So enjoy. Basically, you'll be reviewing the odd and even numbers, but you're also going to be working into seeing odd and even numbers in the bigger numbers, like the double digits. It's that pattern. And again, just like last week when they did the pattern in the hundreds, seeing the patterns of odd and even numbers is going to be so helpful when you get into your addition and subtraction strategies. On the worksheet, they have 200 charts and they're going to find the patterns. They're going to color in the patterns. It doesn't matter if they see the pattern right away and just color in all the numbers that end in 2 and all the numbers that end in 4. The goal of this is for them to see the pattern. So they don't have to sit there and count 1, 2. Oh, there's an even number, 3, 4. Oh, that's an even number, and do it that way. They just need to see the pattern and then color it in. It does give you an alternative in the side explanation rather than use two different charts. So one is the odd numbers and one is the even numbers. They could use one chart and color all the even numbers one color and then color all the odd numbers another color. Lesson 98, pages and books and reading years. All right, we're back to doing some sums practice. Again, those are found in the back of the worksheet behind the math journal. They just do 2 of them. They could do these before math time. They could do it after math. They don't have to do it during math time. Remember, it just can free you up. In this lesson, it just is focusing on the pages and books, seeing which side of the book has odd numbers, which side has even numbers, learning about the copyright. So while this is math, there's still some other things that are kind of interesting they're going to be learning about. And I think it's always good for children to understand. Then our activity continues on with reading years in the 1900s and then reading years in the 2000s. And it ends with a game. This is where we're going to keep our practice working with subtraction. Notice the game is 0 corners. It's S9 in the game book. So if you want to turn there, I'm going to briefly talk about this game. For this game, you're going to use the corner cards. And again, their sums are going to have to equal 5, 10, 15, or 20. But for the scoring, that's where the subtraction comes in. If there's 2 players, you start with 300. If there's 3 players, you start with 200. And you see where it continues to where if you have 6 players playing, then you start at 100. As play starts, that's where you're going to match your numbers, right, to the colors that equal 5, 10, 15, 20. But now you're going to subtract that total. So let's just say there's 2 of you playing and you start with 300 and you score 15. Well, you're going to subtract 15 from 300, which would be 285. And so you write down 285. And you continue until you get to 0. The first person to get to 0 is the winner. Lesson 99, greater than and less than symbols. This is a lesson where you're going to need your sticky note because you're going to use it to cover up the symbol for your child to be able to learn how to read the symbol. So look on where it says the less than symbol. I just want to walk through it with you. We have a 3, we have a 5, and there's space in the middle. Which number is less? That's the first thing we have to figure out. Well, and if the child doesn't know, okay, give them the abacus to use. So we determine that 3 is the lowest number. Now we're going to draw one dot in the middle next to the lowest number. So we're going to put a little dot next to the 3. We're going to draw 2 dots next to the larger number. And that's what I like about the way Right Start does this, is it's by the dots. So 2 dots will always go to the larger number. 1 dot's going to go to the smaller number. And I think that helps because 2 dots is bigger than 1 dot. So 2 dots to the larger number, 1 dot to the smaller number. And then once that's done, they will make the symbol starting with the top dot of the larger number and then taking it to the small and then back down over to the large. Now, your children have used the greater than symbol. We did that in lesson 47, but it's been a while. So this is good review, but now we're focusing on the less than symbol. And so to practice reading these symbols, like on the top of the second page, you have 10 and then you have 20. Draw in your symbol, cover it up with the piece of paper or the sticky note, whatever you have. Then you're going to slowly move that piece of paper to the right to reveal the symbol. Now in the book, it says, what did you see first, the small part or the large part? I would add of the symbol, just to make sure they understand what they're looking for. Well, in this case, we see the small part. In seeing the small part, then we know we're going to read it that 10 is less than 20. And again, you practice with the 12 and the 6. And so they see that 12, and then they see the symbols larger, the 2 dots, it's greater than 6. And let them know, remind them if necessary, when we're doing greater than and less than, we always look at that first number. We're reading it, is the first number bigger than the second number or smaller than the second number, or is it equal? Notice on the worksheet, they are going to have numbers that they're going to decide if they're greater than, less than, or equal to. They're also going to have something similar, as it says here, to a war game. It says a peace game, but anyway, I don't know. Maybe you call it a peace game, but I know it is. We know it is the war game, where you're going to have to add up both sides. Then you're going to have to determine if it's greater than, less than, or equal to. I also think it would be helpful after your child answers the ones that have the plus signs or minus signs to walk through some of these problems. Look at the first one. You have 9 plus 4, and then you have 10 plus 4. Do you really have to do the math to know which one is bigger? Or can you look? Well, they're both having 4 added to it. 10 is more than 9. Automatically, I know that 10 plus 4 is going to be more. I don't have to add the 2 numbers together to figure it out. So maybe you can lead your children through that also. I don't know if you want to do it before they start the worksheet, do a couple of them like that, or let them do the worksheet and then you go back and talk about it. But I do think that's something neat to point out to see if they saw that, or if they didn't, then maybe now that they'll notice something like that more in the future. This lesson also has a game that you could play called the Harder Difference War Game. Now, depending on how your child does, because honestly, that's a lot to do on the worksheet. Some children are going to need a little bit more time than others. So if your time is kind of going long in math and you need to cut out some areas, wait and play that game on your 5th day. If you're doing 4 days a week and having your 5th day, play that game on that 5th day. Or maybe wait when dad comes home in the evening, let him know ahead of time, hey, on Wednesday, I would like for you, when you come home, to play this game with the child. I don't know their names, but that way he kind of has a heads up. He'll come in prepared. It gives you a little bit of leeway of that time, right? So see if that works. If not, play it on the 5th day. Last lesson for this week, lesson 100, introducing area. I don't know about y'all, but we're at lesson 100. I think we need to have a little bit of a celebration. You guys should do something fun for this lesson. We are talking about area. So I don't know, bake a cake, make cupcakes, or just, I don't know, something fun, ice cream, little social or something. And just know we only have 40 more lessons, which really isn't that much when you consider that about the last 10 lessons are just review and assessments. So really about 30 more lessons. Again, in the warm up, look over it. Does your child need it? Then do it. If they don't need it, then skip it. This is the lesson. You're going to need your tangrams and your tiles. You're only working on introducing area. We're not going to compute and do any math to figure out how big the area is. As it says in the example, I'm just going to read it straight out. This lesson is concerned with the basic concept of area, not with any calculations. And right above it, the sentence says that young children seem to understand area at an intuitive level. Like they get it, but they may not be able to explain it. That's like us. There's things that we can get. It's just intuitive. It's like, yeah, I realize there's area, but maybe we can't explain all the laws and the rules and the logic that goes with it, right? Those are things that we'll learn as we go. And that's something in Right Start your child's going to be exposed to all through the levels. They're just going to increase and advance. So they're going to have lots of time to work with learning how to calculate area, but today is not one of those days. Notice the worksheet is interesting. We're going to work with, is it equal, not equal? These problems are like a puzzle. If they need to use their tangrams and their tiles, let them use the tangrams and the tiles to see if they can figure it out. Give them time to try to figure it out. Don't tell them the answers. Remember, you want to guide. You want to help them think. That's the best thing you could do for your child, is to help them learn how to think. All right, we're done for this week. Lots of stuff we're going over, a little bit of mishmash, right? The odds and evens, learning how to count or see odds and evens on books, and reading years, and then getting into area in future lessons. We're going to start getting into fractions, into measuring, into geometry type lessons. I'm looking forward to that. I hope you are too. So join me next week as we go over lessons 101 through 104. Until then.